Hello, I'm back, and today we're near the Seodaemun Prison. It was a very dark time. The Japanese had forcefully taken our rights and began catching and killing our freedom fighters. In this Seodaemun Prison, I will tell you how bad the Japanese treated us, and of course about the Seodaemun Prison. This gate was built before the Japanese occupation. But it was the time when the Japanese kept interfering in our politics. It is called the Dongrimmun, the Independence Gate. This gate was suggested by the independence group and by the green lights of Gojo and by the lights of the people. It stands as the symbol of the Korean self-independence from the past and to the now and to the present. This was built after the Arch of Triumph in France, but the Japanese built the Seodaemun Prison right next to this gate, so we would feel hopeless of our freedom. Now, let's go. The places we have seen before, like palaces and museums, represented the pride of our race. However, in this place, you will see the dark history of our race. After our rights have been taken, many freedom fighters fought to restore their rights to Korea and remove the Japanese. But the Japanese caught them and locked them up here. Now let's go inside. Many freedom fighters have sacrificed themselves to bring back freedom to Korea. They blew up the important places of Japan, like police stations, and they also threw bombs at Japan's high officials and did much damage to them. And then they shouted, "대한 독립 만세," for Korean independence. I'm very proud and thankful of them because without them, there probably won't be the Korea in which we live in now. Now, let's move on. In this room lies the pictures of those who have sacrificed their lives for the independence of Korea. They sacrificed themselves for us, for the future of Korea, and for Korea and for a better future. And I'm very thankful of them because without them, there would have been no us. So I'm very proud of them too. Now let's move on to the basement. This is the basement where the Japanese tortured us. They hang the patriots upside down and poured water on their faces so they could not breathe. And there is another torture called the torture of poking under the fingernails. They used those pointy nail things, equipments to poke under your nails. Have you ever been poked by your pencil under your fingernails? It will very hurt. And they lifted your fingernails so that you would feel amazing pain and you would go numb. And over here, there is the investigation room in which the patriots got investigated for their independence movements. Now, let's move on to the other tortures. This is another torture equipment called the nails torture. You put the patriots inside this box. You go in and you close the door, and the Japanese rattled us so we would be pierced by all the nails inside. Like here, we'll be pierced by the nails in the inside. And there is another torture called the wall torture. Have you ever been standing like a few hours until your legs ache? Well, it's something like that. You actually go inside here and you be locked up here for a few days or a few weeks until you feel very numb. Imagine yourself you cannot lie down or sit down. You only have to stand for a few days or a few weeks. How would that feel? I think it would feel like a terrifying torture. Now, let's move on. This is a place where the prison cells were. Those rooms were very dark and damp with no toilets, so many prisoners died from hunger and disease and torture here. This wooden stick is called a patriots. This system is to warn the officers when there's an emergency. Inside there is a button, and when you press it, the outside stick will come down, and this system is to warn the prison officers of the danger that is happening inside the cell. And there was also a secret messages to tap walls to communicate from each patriot to another. Like you tap the wall, so you get the messages. And I think this is the way that the patriots communicate each other about the plans and the next independence movements they were planning. Now let's move on. Here you can see how the imprisoned patriots were left alone. These holes are for the air to come in and out because to prevent the wooden floor from decaying. And if you see here, these holes are the place where the prisoners' orders came out, because the Japanese kept them isolated all the time. Now, let's go over. Here is the factory in which the Japanese had us doing compulsory labor. We made some glass cups and buckets and some shoes and many things. The Japanese driven us to forced labor at least 10 hours to 14 hours a day, and sometimes even more. I feel very angry for them because the Japanese kept treating us very low, and I even think that even though we are their colony at the moment, we are peoples too, so I think they must treat us not like animals, but like real people. Let's move on. This place is called 격벽장. This is the place where the prisoners took exercises. The guard stood right on top of here, so you could see every ways at one site, because and you can see if the prisoners were together and planning something. So there's each way, and the prisoners each goes in one way and then again out, and keep this on until the exercise is done. Now let's move on to another place. Okay, here is the execution room. But sadly we cannot go in. But this place is a very sad place, because this is the place where the patriots of the Korea were executed. Well, there's a tree over here. It's very well grown, right? The same tree was planted inside this wall, inside the execution room. But it could not live well, and it was all twisted and dried up until it died, so we cut up. I think the reason that the inside tree did not grow up well, is that because it actually saw the executions that were holding inside, and because of that, died too. And over here, there is some sort of tunnel. This tunnel is called the Seodaemun. After the executions were held, they put the body inside that tunnel. Took the body out of that tunnel because they didn't want any others to know about where the body was, and to take the body out of this prison safely out of this prison and put it somewhere else. So now let's go to the back open space. Okay, this is the end of our tour. Did you learn a lot? I hope you did about our history, and I'll see you next time in another very important historical place. See you then, and bye.